Bom dia, and thanks for having me at Tomorrow. My name is Roberta Bigliani, and I'm responsible at IDC Europe of the advisory research that we have developed for industry, so what we call industry insights sectors. I would like to start my participation to Tomorrow by asking us a couple of questions, actually one question with multiple answers. What if, as organization, we could double productivity, for instance, of knowledge workers? What if we could halve the times it takes to respond to customers? What if we could increase the success rate of any new product or service launch by 25%? Or what if we could identify early signal of disease outbreaks? Well, actually, we can, and we can today, not just tomorrow, by just increasing the enterprise intelligence of our company and the organization. And this is why 87% of the C-suite, of the CXO, as we like to call them, have the enterprise intelligence as the priority in their agenda. So now this is exactly the topic I would like to share with you, and my presentation will actually go through three moments, if you will. The first one is be sure that when we are talking about intelligence, and especially the future of intelligence, what we are expecting for today, not just for tomorrow, we are all aligned. And so let me spend a little bit of time in sharing the IDC definition of what we mean by future of intelligence. And then I would like to provide you example and with case studies or our IDC survey results about the approach that the different industries and the different companies are adopting in increasing the intelligence of their organization. And last but not least, I would like to conclude with some next step and food for thoughts. So let's get started, and let's start with the definition. You can read our IDC definition on the slides. Let's see together. Enterprise intelligence is the capacity of an organization to learn, combined with the ability to synthesize the information that are needed to deliver insights at scale. So let me go a little bit down the definition and try to share with you why these three elements. So if you think about a person, the intelligence of a person is based on his or her capacity to learn. It's a sort of IQ. And so what we have to think about is the IQ of our organization. But then the other component, an extremely important element, is how can I synthesize from the tons of data, from the tons of information I have, how I'm capable of synthesizing. That's the other element of intelligence. And last but not least, the third dimension is really about having the capability to take all what I have to basically deliver insights at scale that can trigger decision, that can trigger action across the different area of the companies and from the management, the top management of the company. Of course, there are multiple benefits by increasing the intelligence at scale. And they go, of course, from innovation, productivity, customer satisfaction. But ultimately, what I want to stress is that if we have the capability of learning, synthesizing, and delivering insights at scale, we are actually achieving a competitive advantage. And we really see that intelligent enterprises are having this competitive advantage because they can shorten the reaction time. There are, for instance, some automotive companies that I'm thinking about the Asian, some Asian example, where they're trying to leverage the capability of synthesizing information by really accelerating the speed, eliminating a couple of layers of middle management. And that allows them to be more, if you will, to have a greater speed in the execution of the different element of the strategy or the decision to react to specific market condition. So we really think that if we increase the intelligence of our company, we can really reduce probably by 0.5% the response time compared to our peers. Then there is also the element I was asking at the beginning, what if we could increase the success rate of our product? And again, if we better know our market, if we better know the customer we want to approach with the new product and services, then we are capable of increasing the success of our value proposition. And last but not least, all this means also increasing the customer satisfaction, or having a much better customer experience. And we have seen already, and we are expecting that this will continue to grow, that the NPS, the Net Promoter Score of more intelligent enterprises, is actually increasing by 1.5 times higher than the one that are less intelligent, and they have less ability to offer a wide variety of experiences. So this is a little bit the concept of intelligence. So don't think about one single technology or one single definition like business intelligence, data warehouses, whatever, but think about really the capability of your company and your organization, of your hospital, of your university to learn, synthesize, and act on insights at scale. Now, what is the situation of the different industries? Well, I have to say that there is no industry that have not undergone a process of increasing the intelligence. We have been adopting in the last years a lot of new technologies to help in this trajectory. But I still think that we are a little bit halfway in our journey, because in many situations, even if we have done incredible things, we have achieved outcomes that are more related to a specific silos of the organization or specific use cases, and a real complete enterprise-wide future of intelligence and intelligence increase is still a luxury of a limited portion of companies in Europe, but at worldwide level. Now, let me give you an example of why, for instance, the top 5 reasons that across industry are pushing companies and organizations to adopt AI, and look at AI as a sort of extensive concept. So why we are investing in intelligence? Well, the first element is definitely to achieve better business agility. Business agility is the new mantra, if you will, in this volatile time. And we went from having agile as a concept in terms of software development, if you will, into having some sort of capabilities of being extremely agile in changing if the value chain, for instance, of if the supply chain is disrupted. And so our ability to reorganize our supply chain and our operation to secure business continuity. Of course, another top priority is related to customer satisfaction, and I don't think I need to go again in explaining the benefit, but just think about a call center where, if you will, you can have a call center operator that has a suggestion in what is the next best action or the next best thing to propose to the customer that is on the other side. How much this can increase, not just the relevance of what the operator is saying to the customer, but also the possibility to increase the value or the spending of that specific customer. Then the other top reason, the third top reason, is actually the automation, the productivity. Now, don't think about automation just as a sort of production manufacturing type of things or asset-centric type of thing, because what we are discovering and learning is that there is an enormous value in automating processes and even enterprise processes. Again, think about basic thing like categorizing documents, which is a very annoying process, to be honest, and which can be so easily accomplished by artificial intelligence and automation and RPA type of technology, for instance. There is also another element. The fourth reason is actually the possibility to increase accuracy. Accuracy that, again, in some repetitive task is an incredible benefit if you can reduce the manual errors and the mistake that sometimes we do as human. And again, I was using the example of robotic process automation, a sort of robotic process automation can really accomplish without any mistake. And of course, the capability of having a different speed. And again, if you can arrive a little bit earlier than your competitor on the market with a sort of reaction or action, or a new value proposition, a new product, the capability of producing while maybe the other are not capable because of interruption or disruption in their supply chain, well, that's an enormous competitive advantage. Now, of course, these are, if you will, macro reasons. And if we look at each and every industry, the situation is very different. And the use cases for investment and the reason and the let's say, the goal to increase the enterprise intelligence are very different. And not just, if you look at the case of retailers, for instance, at macro industry perspective, but also for the single sub-industry. Food and grocery is, again, different from e-commerce, from fashion and apparel. And you can see from the slides, you can read the example of priorities. They are very different. So if I'm a food and grocery, and I will have a couple examples in a moment, maybe I can think about how to use intelligence, how to use data to increase the value of my activity, or even monetizing the data I'm collecting every day. If I'm a fashion and apparel, maybe what I'm looking more than, for instance, food and grocery, is to create a customer experience that increase the life cycle, the lifetime value of my customer, because there is a fidelization to a brand, and so on and so forth. So every single industry and sub-industry has very specific reason, and that are actually providing incredible value from the investment. Let me give a couple of examples from the retail industry. And let me start, for instance, with Intermarché, which is a quite large food and grocery company, mainly headquartered in France, but not only in France. And they have invested a lot in intelligence, because what they wanted to do was to transform the company from being a little bit a distribution-driven type of business into something that is a little bit more a sales-driven type of organization. And so they invested in with an enterprise-wide initiative of increasing the value and what they could take out from the data. Now, they've done a lot of initiative, but there is probably one that I would like to mention, which is the creation of a centralized data factory. A data factory where they gather, of course, external partner, not just internal employee and technician. But I think that what is interesting in this example is the capability of understanding that intelligence is not only related to data scientists, because what you need to have in this data factory, if you will, is the capability of understanding the data in the context, knowing the business that Intermarché is really dealing with, the process that Intermarché is carrying out. And so they created this multidisciplinary team in the data factory, where they had, of course, data scientists, but business people that know, if you will, business analysts that knew the processes, and technology experts. So by bringing together these different kind of capabilities, they were really capable of scaling up the intelligence of the company and obtain a lot of concrete use cases benefit. They were, of course, capable of increasing the customer satisfaction, the possibility to deliver a more personalized experience to the different shoppers, and basically what I was describing in the previous slides. Another example that I would like to share, and this is also quite interesting because it's completely different from the perspective of the starting point from Intermarché, is Coles, which is an Australian supermarket chain. I think they had 2,500. I can't even remember exactly the number of supermarket they had. But the point is that what they understood is, well, maybe we can think about how can we, if you will, take advantage of the entire set of data we are collecting in the transactional process at the store level, and transform them into insights that we can share with our supplier. And that will allow us to, of course, deliver a better customer experience at the end, but to optimize and maybe create new partnering opportunities or much more integrated and optimized operation. And that's what they did. They started, and I think this project, and they obtained a fantastic improvement in the relationship, in deepening the relationship, and working together with their entire supplier. Two examples from retail. Now let's have an example from automotive. Now, automotive, and I'm using the BMW example, are applying intelligence in very many areas of their operations. There are also even having some sort of catalog of the ethical usage of artificial intelligence in the corporation. But the only thing I want to mention here is just to give a sort of different perspective of a different use case, because what BMW is doing, among many other things, is actually investing in image recognition to increase the quality standard, and at the same time relieving the people from the very repetitive task they have to conduct every day. And so just think about image recognition used to check if there is any defect, any missing thing in a car while it's moving in the different stages of the production. By having these visual recognition, image recognition type of capabilities, hundreds of pictures are checked, cross-checked in milliseconds, and that's again relieve this activity from people in a positive way, and reduce the margin of defect or undetected type of not standard compliance. And if you think about image recognition, this is quite also strongly adopted in an industry like electricity transmission and distribution to monitor the overhead lines for vegetation management. So you fly maybe with drones, no more with an helicopter, or no more by having people going and taking picture of looking at what's the situation. And then by comparing the images, you can understand where you have to send people to cut the trees, for instance. So image recognition is also a quite interesting area for activity and where intelligence can deliver value, operational efficiency, and of course reduction of cost. But we are living again the second wave of the pandemic, so it's not possible to forget to talk about the value of data and the power of data for public health. There is no doubt that data and artificial intelligence is driving epidemiology forward. Again, think about the extreme situation of COVID, but not just COVID, flu, any other kind of virus. If we are able to identify the early signal of the outbreak, maybe we have a little bit more time to take action. And actually, Blue Dot, which is a company in Canada, was detecting the signal of COVID before anyone was even realizing that that was happening. Then, of course, when we have identified the disease, the outbreak, then we can understand the pattern of how it will spread, and so do some forecast. And at the same time, as an additional step, we can understand how we can optimize, or what are the strategies to put in place for controlling the epidemic. And in the case of COVID, we saw example of control through contact tracing, and there were applications that were delivered in the different countries, adopted more or less to basically achieve the results. So again, we have proved that if we, and again, it's not just the COVID-19 story, but the value of data for public health is enormous. And actually, it's also helping in dealing with this pandemic. A lot of hospital, and again, all the healthcare providers are really thinking, if they've not already invested in artificial intelligence or intelligence more in general to do so. And we have seen a sort of increase of interest, and you can see it on the right-hand side of the slides, in application of use cases that are looking, for instance, at intelligent patient monitoring or predictive workforce management, or even language processing for entering the medical records, or intelligent assistant for the patient interactions. Of course, we went through a series of industries. We can't forget about government, because government is also quite interested in and investing in increasing the intelligence for multiple reasons. And you can read the top use cases on the left-hand side of the slide. So trying to personalize a bit more the citizen services, try to reduce the financial fraud or the abuse, and that's where local level, at central level, we can think about how to use cases to determine the optimal level for social benefits payment, or improve the process of revenue collections, or keep track and report in case of events or accidents. So these are some examples, but there might be many more examples in the government environment. What I would like to a little bit to stress anyway is that I was pitching a fantastic role for intelligence to provide the outcome. But of course, you don't have to think that those type of initiatives are easy project or easy initiatives to be carried out, because there are many reasons for not obtaining the outcome. And so there are things that need to be considered when starting in the execution of any of this kind of initiative. And again, you can read on the slides that based on our finding, what were the major reasons why in government some transformational initiatives from an intelligence perspective were failing. First of all, expectations that were unrealistic, and sometimes the misunderstanding of what the technology could really do or that couldn't do. But I think that the three most important things that I would like to outline are actually the fact that you need to be sure to have the data, the people, and the understanding of the outcome that you want to achieve. Because if you are lacking the data, how can you train the algorithm, for instance? So you need to fix the basis of the house before moving to the next level. You need to have skilled personnel. And if you remember about the Intermarché example, it's not just a question of data scientists, but for government, data scientists, data engineer, AI modelers are actually, the difficulty to recruit the scarce talent is actually a reason why sometimes they are pushing back with this type of initiative. And again, the lack of understanding of the business case is another area where the right level of attention need to be delivered. Now, if you move to a completely different industry, energy, so oil and gas or utilities, you see that some challenges or some inhibitors for the initiative to increase the enterprise intelligence are somehow similar, but also somehow different. Energy was sharing that the major concern, the major inhibitor is actually the cost of the solution. And don't read the cost of a solution like the software, the application thing. It's really the cost of having the right resources and everything that is needed to scale up or to move at scale the Insights initiative. The second area, and we saw it also for government, that's common on for many industries, is really the lack of skilled personnel. And we know that in an era where some specific technological skills are becoming more and more, or analytical skills are becoming more important, is absolutely relevant to have the right skill, but also have the right capabilities of interacting with the ecosystem. Because what I always like to say to utilities, there is no way that you will have internally enough, I don't know, data scientists. So the capability of working with the ecosystem to have this kind of capabilities and resources is fundamentally important. Then a little bit of confusion on what to do with the different algorithm, what is the right technology, what is the right algorithm to use. Then the difficulties of operationalizing what we are doing in a sort of use case or proof of concept type of initiative. And then also the dimension was mentioned about accessing the right computing resources. Again, you have to consider the possibility of, if you think about oil and gas industry, of harsh environment or very, very, very specific geographic areas where these companies are operating. Now, I think I've provided you a sort of different examples and different reasons why to adopt or the difficulties sometimes in elevating the intelligence of our organization and enterprise. Now, I would like to share with you a little bit of next step. And let me start by talking about the path of intelligence. And let me use the sort of rule of thumbs of the 80-20, and I will explain in a minute. So if you try to oversimplify and you think about data and process, then you can say that there is, let's say, 20% of data that are organized and 80% that are not organized. At the same time, if you look at process, you can think about the fact that there might be 80% of processes that are really ad hoc and another 20% that is more structured. So if you look at this 20-20 combination, we have three areas. The first area is where we have structured processes and organized type of data. This is actually the area where we are implementing the typical enterprise application. And think about one system that many industries have, which is the ERP. We are talking now about intelligent ERP. So what everyone is trying to do is to increase and embed in the application a layer of intelligence that, of course, can perform much better these, for instance, transactional processes or transactional operations. Then if you think about the green area on the slide, so the area where the data are organized, we are in the area of the typical, I don't know, business intelligence, business analytics, data warehousing, to think about in terms of technologies. We think that that's the area where we will see more and more in the evolution, in the path to intelligence, we will see more and more investment in predicting things and prescripting even things. And so we like to talk about not advanced analytics, but augmented analytics. And that's a quite significant area where each organization and company can take benefits. And then we have the other area where we don't have we don't have organized data, but we have very structured processes. And that's a fantastic area for workflow management. And think about IT ticketing, but there are tons of processes that can follow in this specific category. And that's the area where you can really apply robotic process automation, or what, as we like to call it in IDC, intelligent process automation. But all this is 36. What about the rest? What about the 64? Because that's the area where line of business is the domain of decision for line of business, and which are sometimes very different. But if you think about the enormous, I mean, what we are doing, for instance, or the potential and the benefits with robotic process automation, and that's only 16%. Again, adopting this rule of thumbs, think about the benefits and the value and how you can evolve in the path to intelligence in this 64%. And let me give you an example, of course, is looking forward, thinking about the possibility to connect insights and move into autonomy by thinking about the digital twin. So think about the executive decision model, where you have to define what you want to do with your portfolio, product, market, customer, because at the end, you need to allocate resources to basically perform the organization or whatever is the business, the industry that you are looking at. And then you have the scenario analysis, where you are trying to understand what if something happened. And so what we are doing in this phase of decision, we are trying to understand what to do to mitigate the risk. Then there is the phase of value, the phase of planning. So how can how do I have to build my production planning, my sales planning, to optimize, of course, the outcome and the value for the company. But then we have another layer, which is the field front line, where we need to have a sort of situational awareness. What is happening in this very moment in, I don't know, this power plant? What is happening in this manufacturing plant? What is happening in the call center? And that's the area where I can identify a pattern to basically suggest the next best action. Now, if we put all together in a loop and we combine this level of decision with the digital trap and the automation that we have in each different industry, then we can really create a sort of loop and move towards more and more towards a sort of not just insights, but autonomy. Autonomy in terms of processes or that are self-healing, self-optimizing, and maybe in the longer future, even self-organizing. So again, it's a sort of looking a little bit more at the future, but that's an important element to consider for the 64% of area where we are in the business environment, the line of business decision area. Now, to conclude, I would also like to share a little bit of teaser around some of the predictions that we are actually releasing in these days, and are mainly focused on what is happening and how the different industries are taking advantage of intelligence. And we can read them all together. So if you think about more the financial area, we are expecting that for all consumer and small businesses, loans will actually be originated by AI-enabled and automated processes because they are very repeatable. Same thing for bank payments. 50% of them will be leveraging, again, artificial intelligence to continuously optimize messaging and routing, and that will result in terms of benefits of cost and efficiency. If you think about a completely different industry, the hospitality, travel and hospitality that is reinventing themselves also because of the pandemic, we are expecting that there will be an acceleration in intelligence capabilities and in the possibility to acquire startups to build data delivery platform that can basically allow a better personalization and so an increase in customer loyalty. And if we think about manufacturing, we are expecting that in the next 5 years, 70% of the largest manufacturers will actually use AI even more to develop guidance and insights on risk-based operational decision making. And with that, I would really like to thank you for your attention, but I would like to conclude. I started the presentation with a question to all of us. Now, I really would like to ask you if you are ready to bring insights at scale, and if not, you have to take action and prepare and continue the execution of the intelligence journey. And with that, I would really like to thank you for your attention. Obrigada.